Joining us now from Newton, Massachusetts with more on the effort is Professor Matthew Bunn, a nuclear expert at Harvard's John F. Kennedy School of Government. Mr. Bunn, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay, we keep hearing about Reactor 3 and its continued problems. How far away are we from this, what Bill just mentioned, this disaster measure of just entombing this thing?
Well, I think that idea is one that might happen in the long term because the reality is we've got a lot of damaged spent fuel in the reactor cores and in these spent fuel pools, and it's going to be very hard to deal with. But that's not something you could do in a matter of days. It's going to take months to build such a tomb. So right now, the key priority is get all the fuel underwater again.
Well, what can they possibly do to get this situation under control? Because there are some bits of good news coming out of this nuclear plant this weekend, but Reactor 3, with more smoke billowing from it today, seems to be a lingering problem.
Indeed. This is a real reminder of what the Japanese cabinet secretary said, which is there are going to be twists and turns even as they make progress in stabilizing these reactors. They've now got reactors 5 and 6 pretty much stabilized. 3 remains a huge problem. In both 1 and 3, the fuel in the pool, in the reactor cores is still exposed. In 3 and 4, we still have major problems with the spent fuel pools. So there's still a major amount of work to be done, and there are likely to be some ups and downs as we stabilize the situation. Okay,
so Reactor 3 aside, when we're talking about those positive gains like you mentioned, power had been restored at Reactor 2, and like you just mentioned, Reactors 5 and 6 are quote-unquote under control. So when you hear reports that the worst may be over, those are probably not accurate at this point, correct?
Well, I think the worst probably is over, but it's not definitely over. There's still some risk of additional releases of radiation, but I think the fears that we had on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that there might be, for example, a spent fuel fire that might release huge quantities of radiation, I think are very much reduced now.
All right, let's talk about some of the elevated radiation levels that have been detected in some of the food and vegetables, not only in the area, but as far as 140 miles away or kilometers away in Tokyo. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the fact that there's been detection so far away does suggest that probably more radioactive material was released over the course of the past 10 days than we realized. None of the levels detected so far are enough to really pose a significant health problem, but I think this is something they're going to have to be coping with for days and weeks to come.
All right, Professor Matthew Bunn joining us from Massachusetts this morning. Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.